Let's break it down. In early January 2026, a story that sounds almost surreal is now shaking America's closest partners. President Trump has renewed his push for US control of Greenland, and multiple European allies are openly signaling alarm. Here's the key point. Greenland isn't just ice and geography, it's strategic territory. The US already operates the Pituffik space base there, a critical node for early warning, missile tracking, and space surveillance. And as Arctic ice changes, shipping routes and resource access become more valuable, including critical minerals used in batteries and defense technology. So the US interest isn't new. What's new is the tone, language that sounds less like partnership and more like pressure. Denmark's Prime Minister has warned publicly that any attempt to take Greenland would be a red line for NATO itself. Several European leaders have also backed Denmark and emphasized that territorial integrity is not up for negotiation. Greenland's leadership has rejected the idea outright, stressing that Greenland's future is decided by Greenlanders, not by Washington, not by Copenhagen, and not by any outside power. At the same time, Greenland has signaled it wants stronger cooperation with the US on security and investment, just not ownership. So why are allies so shaken? Because if a major power can talk about taking territory from an ally, it breaks the most basic rule that keeps alliances stable. Sovereignty is non-negotiable. Greenland has its own parliament and broad self-rule, and Denmark's position is that any change in status must be democratic and legal. Allies worry that turning this into a power play sets a precedent other countries could copy elsewhere, and this is happening at the worst possible moment for Europe. Russia remains the central security concern, and the Arctic is turning into a frontier where the US, Russia, and China all compete for positioning. Allies want Washington focused on deterrence, not internal disputes that hand easy propaganda wins to rivals. Now, from Trump's perspective, the argument is national security. And yes, the Arctic matters more every year, but here's the reality check. The US already has defense agreements, already has a presence, and can deepen cooperation without rewriting maps. That's why allies see this as less about strategy and more about leverage. And leverage inside an alliance is a dangerous game. So what happens next? Watch for 3 signals. 1. Whether NATO leaders hold urgent consultations and publicly reaffirm Denmark and Greenland's sovereignty. 2. Whether European capitals coordinate a stronger unified message, not just quiet diplomacy. And 3. Whether Washington changes its wording from take to partner, because the language tells you whether this is escalation or de-escalation. My take: even if nothing happens physically, the damage can happen politically. Allies start hedging. Trust erodes. And adversaries learn the alliance can be rattled by words alone. I'm Imran, a Middle East-based analyst who follows global economics and geopolitics. If you want calm, simple breakdowns without the noise, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, is this just tough talk for negotiation or a real stress test for NATO in 2026?